The Maroon White Pod brought to you by Citylink. For bookings, timetables, updates, and any other information, head to citylink.ie. Come along to the Maroon White Pod. It was a fantastic weekend for the Galway ladies footballer where they defeated Dublin after extra time. A massive performance and a huge result, which now sees them advance to the All Ireland semi final against Cork on Saturday week. I'm delighted now to be joined by former Galway ladies football manager Timmy Rabbitt to look back on the result and where it came from. Timmy, is that the result Galway ladies football needed?
Yeah, you have to think it was Paul. Fantastic performance by the girls. Absolutely unbelievable performance. They've had a tough enough, I suppose, year season so far. You know, a lot of injuries. Obviously, the Kilkerran Glenburn girls are obviously get a break. You know, during the early parts of the league, which are well due, especially after exploits with Kilkerran Glenburn. So that's hard, I suppose, for the management when they're without. They're not that strong at the start of the team, or haven't got the strongest maybe team out of them. But I think it's probably paying dividends now. You're seeing the impact of the Kilkerran Clonburn girls when they're back in the fold for a sustained period. So between the injuries and getting relegated down to Division Two, obviously brilliant Connacht final performance against Mayo. And I thought in all the games I've seen them so far, I thought they've been improving against Cork in the group game, and I thought they were super now on Saturday night. Really, they must be really proud of themselves, the performance they put in.
3-7 to 112, they defeated Dublin on Saturday night. Where do you think this result came from, or was there a certain aspect of the performance that you seen something that you kind of knew from early on that we had a chance of overturning Galway? Because it felt like at the start it was very much just kind of stay in this game because Dublin were obviously the form team in the country going into this game.
They were, yeah, but I suppose they're probably not as strong as they were a number of years ago. The loss of Carla Rowe would have been, you know, she's
Yeah.
probably the player of the season, really, I suppose, so far, or at least in contention for it. So, like, that was a big plus for Galway not to have Carla Rowe. She's a big scoring forward, basically, for them. Um, Galway, I think they've been building, I suppose, to this performance. You can see them getting a little bit stronger, a little bit more organizing what they're doing, a bit more structure based they're doing. Girls, they're keeping girls injury free, which is really important. You can see girls maybe who are back a little bit later, getting a little fitter and a little stronger. You know, like Charlotte Cooney put in a big performance the last day. Obviously, like Olivia was very good. Ailish Marcy came on, did a really good job. Roisin Leonard again kept injury free, getting a little fitter, getting a little stronger, you know, that kind of way. So lots and lots of pluses and big performances from Galway the last day. I don't think it was before, and it wasn't something that you think wouldn't happen. It was Galway were definitely capable of beating Dublin. They had to put in a really good performance, and they did that. They had to stay in the game at different times as well, which they did that because at times Dublin looked like they were just going to go on and win this game, but Galway stayed at it and stayed at it and stayed at it. They showed a lot of heart and fight and resilience, particularly when they were making probably quite a good few mistakes as well. You know, the turnovers were probably high enough, and that they'll probably want to have a look at that as well. But I'd say they were really delighted with the performance they put in. Lots of good football in it as well. Matched up Dublin athletically very well. You know, didn't back off them either. You know, at times when they needed to press it, when they needed to score, you know, they did that. Particularly, you know, towards the end of different periods in normal time and in extra time, when Galway with a team that were pressing hard basically at the end. And like it was even noticeable Dublin getting frees at the end, and Galway were just going player on player. They weren't backing off, giving Dublin easy plays. They were just making a battle out of everything, and you know it worked out for them. So they must be really delighted with that performance.
And what impressed you most?
Think they're coming looking more like a team, I suppose, and that can happen because when they're a little bit disjointed earlier on in the year, it takes a while to get a couple of performances basically together. I thought they were really good against Mayo. Maybe their football wasn't that high of a standard, but you could really see a bit of a team ethos basically coming there. You could see girls fighting for each other. You could see maybe when things weren't going wrong, they were staying with it. You could see leaders coming to the fore, you know, and Galway have some big players, quality footballers. You know that Sarah Lee Lynch, you know, Kate Garrity is a leader basically in her own way as well. You know, Leanne Cohn, the two Ward sisters, obviously Olivia is really stepping up in her performance as well. Roisin obviously is a quality player. So they've lots of leaders throughout the team, and they're starting to come to the fore. And you can really see them try to take a hold of the team a little bit, and help out maybe some of the younger kind of players. And that's brilliant to see, because that's obviously the way they would have wanted it to happen. That the team unity is really strong, and I think that game is really going to bring them on. That Dublin win as well. As you can see, the Mayo performance, you could see they were really determined that day, that they didn't want to get beaten, and especially after maybe beaten by a point by Mayo last year in the championship. And really, in reflection, they shouldn't have been really in Pearse Stadium. They had that game within their control, so that was obviously driving them a little bit as well. And maybe get relegated to Division Two would have hurt them a little bit, even though it's not something that's fatal. But I'm sure it would have hurt their pride a little bit as well. So I'd say they were determined to put all that right. They knew they'd have to put a big performance in against Dublin, and they certainly delivered that.
I know she's so experienced at this stage, but like, what a performance from Nicola Ward at centre half back on Saturday night. Like her runs, just driving down the middle, defensive play, like she did everything. What is it about her, from your own experience working with her, which makes her such a colossal, even on the ball and off the ball?
I suppose she's a really athletic player. She's a really strong athletic player. Football is obviously really important to her. She spends, that by her. So she spends the time that's required to get better at her game. She's a really strong runner, basically of the game. She's a very determined person. I think there's any challenge you set her. She's one of those girls that if you say, "Oh, look, you're marking Jennifer Dunn or Goldrick, whoever it is," she just accepts that and said, "Yeah, I'll do it, and I'll go and I'll do my best basically at it." And but I suppose herself and Louise have that steely determination about them. I suppose they like to win, so like us all, but they really go after it when they get a chance, basically of it. They're never really beaten. As well, so I think their mindset is probably the best thing about them, as well as being quality, strong, athletic, basic players. Who really are good on the ball as well. It's rare you'd see Nicola giving a ball away. Rare that it happens. She's just a really good, strong player.
It's with her now, and Sarah Lynch, as we talked about, she's obviously been there full back for quite a while. The Ward sisters, Olivia Dibley, they really are becoming, I suppose they are the leaders of the team, even though they're still relatively not that old yet.
Yeah, look, they've got a good spine of leaders based on the team. Charlotte Cooney's been around a good few years as well, so she's a really experienced basically player. Roisin Leonard is obviously just a quality player. We talk about Paul Conroy in the men's games being a bit of a Rolls Royce of a player, and Roisin is that in ladies football as well.
What
I
about
tell
her two goals? Like the way she takes them is just class.
Yeah, yeah. I watching it, I suppose anyone who knows her, I think it was the second one where she tucked in the corner, nice and tidy. You're just going, you knew before she did it, she's going to do that, because she just has a really good eye for goal, very composed in front of the goals. Roisin, I suppose, had a bad, tough run of it for injuries. Um, and that's what's restricted her. And she looks injury free now. Like, I see her go back chasing after players and tracking players, which wouldn't have been her forte for a few years. And I'd say it's something she enjoys doing it, but she's doing it, which obviously means that she's moving fairly well, and that she's injury free. So please God for Galway that can continue, because she's just a quality player. She can do a few things that other players just can't do, particularly off her left and right basically side. Although she missed one or two, I think, off her left foot that she would normally get. But if they keep her injury free, she's just such a danger inside.
Just from Roisin, like she's one of the few players who can kick the ball off the ground in ladies football. There's not many other players that can do that. Do you think that's a huge weapon to have now as the championship goes on?
It is, because she's just so reliable basically at it. She's been doing it for so many years. I remember in 2019, excuse me, in the All Ireland semi final against Mayo, she kicked one from, I'd say, 40 or 50 meters. She'd probably tell
Yeah.
me it's 140 meters, but so she's just really consistent with it. You just knew the way when you knew the way she'd run out you, she's gonna strike it as well. She just has a really good strike of the ball. So it's a big weapon to have, particularly if it's in windy conditions, and particularly if there's a lot of nerves and pressure basic kicks. She's been there, she's done that. It's a big plus. So funny enough, I thought there was one or two last night she probably could have taken. and she didn't seem to go to them. So for whatever reason, but like she struck some quality frees basically the last day. And it's a big weapon to have, particularly in ladies' game, because the refereeing can be just very unpredictable at times. So if you're on the right
Did
side of that,
did that annoy you being involved?
it does, because you'd love to see the game progress on, because it is such a brilliant sport. Like I think I enjoyed that game on Saturday more than I've done a lot of games lately, just because not that it was open, but it was just two teams having a really right go in it, and it's just the inconsistency of the referee. And like I don't think any of us are looking for a more physical game as regards hard hitting or anything like that. The simple contact from some girls, and the free is being called, and it's for both sides. I'm not complaining about that he was pro Dublin and against Galway. It's just very inconsistent. Like I'd love to know the whistle count for that game. It was very high. And what's happening now, because the whistle counts, that girls are diving or they're hitting the floor early, easy, that kind of stuff, looking for the free, which wasn't there a couple of years ago. So, and that's what's going to happen. That bit of cynicism is going to come into the game, which you'd hate to see in ladies football, because it isn't really there that much in that, particularly compared to the men's basic game. But the inconsistency of the refereeing, I think, is making players kind of play the referee, which to me is a new thing. So it just wouldn't have been there even 4 or 5 years ago when I was involved myself. You wouldn't have seen that as much, because players are playing the referee and getting the free, which you don't like to see. And if that creeps into the game, it'd be a real pity. It's just the standard of it just needs to get higher, and the advantage rule needs to be played more. Like there's girls getting fouled. You can see maybe they are technically getting fouled by the LGFA rule book, but they're out through the tackle. Just let the play go on. Just let the play go on. So it's just it's always been there in ladies football and more in the men's football. The definition of the tackle, but there's just work needs to be done on it, and it would really quicken up the game a little bit more.
Nearly felt like that for the Dublin penalty, that there was kind of no contact really allowed. Do you know, it to me it didn't look like there was a huge amount in it.
No, there was nothing in it, like absolutely nothing. And there was quite a good few decisions like that throughout today. It's just not that's not free, that kind of way. That's just
Yeah.
someone going to the ball and they're going fairly hard basically at it. So I'd say, looking at the game the last day, I'd say 30-40% of the frees just weren't frees, basically. That's just somebody putting their arm to try to stop someone basically playing. And we have to have that in the game, because players are obviously getting more athletic, and more well conditioned. So they're able to take hits and knocks and bangs, and more contact they're able to take that kind of contact basically in the game. So it's just something that needs to be caught up with. The rule book needs to catch up with maybe the conditioning basically, of the players, and the way the game is basically played. It's just girls are more athletic now. They're able to take the knocks and hits and bangs and bumps and that kind of stuff. It's not bothering them.
Just earlier on, we talked about Galway staying in the game. Dublin get back into the game 1-4 to 1-2, and you're kind of like, oh, is this going away from Galway? Because they played quite a lot of football in the first half. The goal is huge right before halftime to have Galway going in by uh, a point ahead, 2-2 there to 1-4. We kind of stay within touching distance. It looks like at stages when we're 2-3 to 1-8 that this game might go away from us. But great response again, Eilish Morrissey and Roisin Leonard to force the game to go to extra time.
Yeah, like I think all the subs that came on did really well. Ailish, like, is an absolute quality player as well. Again, very athletic kind of player. Very unlucky with injuries of the last couple of years. Brilliant to see her coming into form, because she'll be a big weapon for Galway if they get her going, because she's a scoring forward, and like she got a couple of scores. Last were kicked a point, or maybe the set 2 point. She left a goal behind her definitely as well when she was in the first part of extra time as well, which she could do probably a little bit better on. And Andrea Trill, again, another girl who's been coming back from injury. She made a big difference. Did a couple of turnovers, lost a few possessions, but she lost them up the right side of the field in attack. That kind of stuff, where there was time to get back and players basically in cover. So I thought she was a big, like, they're two real quality footballers. If they get them fit, the next 2 weeks are going to be really good for them as well, because there's lots more football for them. And if Galway have a strong bench, that's only going to make them stronger. Last year they probably just didn't have that, for one reason or another. But blooding all these players in the league, or getting all these players game time in the league, now it's standing to them, and that's a big advantage. advantage, but it's good to see them girls back. They're two quality footballers.
As well, we talked extra time when Dublin go two ahead, 111 to 2-6. Olivia Divley gets a key free to put 1 point in it. They go ahead by two again, and it's looking like they're going to hang on. But like Aoife O'Rourke has to be given massive credit to come on in a game the magnitude of this, and she's still such a young player. But like to get that goal was just massive.
Yes, it was superb. But I think the like Galway stayed in the game for stages, and then went at it at stages. Really chased it hard, put the tackles in, got turnovers, tried to get up the pitch quick. They weren't last year. They might have been a little bit going sideways or backwards when the attack was basically on, but they got a turnover the last day. They were going for it. They were trying to get it up the pitch. The pitch opened up a little bit then for us, and then obviously that helped the likes of Nicola and Louise, who like to run with the ball, and they need a bit of space. They obviously, it's a strong weapon that they have. They're strong running, and other teams know that, so they get lots of bodies around them. But when it opens up, their talents can really come to the fore. And I thought they really did well at that time. Won a lot of ball, broke a lot of lines, broke out through tackles. Charlie Cooney did really well in extra time as well. Got up the pitch quite late. Alva Davern just fought and fought and fought all day. Probably didn't have her best game, but just really, really went at it. And after anytime they needed someone to get their hand on the ball, she seemed to be on it basically just to get it and hand pass it off. And they kept the ball really well. So when they had to stay in the game, they did. Like they only got 3-2 from play. So that's how important the goals basically are. They only got 5 scores to basically play, even in extra time.
Yeah.
So goals were like, goals win games, and it definitely was the case for us the last day, and to get that goal was super because it really broke Dublin's heart basically at that time, But I thought they fully deserved to go away because they just battled and battled at it the whole day, and I think that was the biggest plus the basic take about it. Their mindset was really good, and when they got a chance to go at Dublin, they really went at them. There was no real fear basically there in Dublin. They knew that they knew that the game was still there for them.
Just on this to me, because I know we're back involved kind of in Galway ladies football underage now, but when you consider the large amount of girls that have went from minor straight into a senior panel, I I seen a figure like 13 or something, I think it is altogether from last year's minor team. That's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I suppose it's common enough among the ladies. There was an under 20 basic grade. So it can happen. Like you like girls 16, 17 are obviously playing senior with their club basically at that stage basically as well. I suppose we've a lot of talent coming through in Galway, and no more than the men's game. How do you get that talent basically to come in through the senior team? And I suppose one of the things you need a consistency in the management at a senior level. So hopefully things will settle down from here on, and they'll get more consistently. You can see, Colin Murray, who's involved in the Camogie ladies. He's been there since I think he was there, 2019 or something, the same year. I was involved with the Galway ladies, so that's quite a long time. And I think you've seen that benefit of the consistency at the senior level, and then it's given opportunity for players who might come into the panel but mightn't really break through onto the first team for a year or two, and it's given them that opportunity to develop. We need that same thing in Galway ladies football. We need a consistency in the management and the structures behind the scene, whether it be S&C or training facilities, that kind of stuff. All those things need to come together for us to continue to produce, I suppose, quality senior players, for the county.
Just with this, like Nicola Ward was even referencing after the game, like that this performance was in them and she knew it was in them. But in the past, we have struggled consistently wise to back it up. And I suppose that's the drum maybe the management can go after for the next 2 weeks to back this up because maybe we've seen performances in the past, but it's probably been a while where there hasn't been a consistency of results for Goa.
Yeah, possibly you could say that you know I think there's been a lot going on in the background in Galway ladies football between changing
Yeah.
management teams and different stuff like that. So there's probably a lot of different reasons that don't help. It isn't quite all about the players. So look, I think they'll be delighted with that performance the last day. I think if they keep everybody injury free, um, they seem to have a good structure basically about them when they're playing, which is really good. It doesn't seem a bit of this and a bit of that. It just seems to be like they're sticking to a game plan, and that can always help. we have quality players. There's no doubt about that. There's quality players throughout that team. So they're in a good place. They won't fear Cork, although they'll know how difficult a game that will be. You know, they've played Cork twice this year. I think they've been beaten twice out of them, but not by much. There's been nothing in those spacey games. So they're building nicely. Of course, their expectation, will grow. I suppose with people that they could go on. They'll smell an All Ireland final now. It's that close to them in one sense. So the next couple of weeks will be really important. They've lots of areas, I suppose, to work on, and I'm sure they'll say themselves their own kick out wasn't great at the start of the game when Dublin were player on player, and we lost quite a good few kickouts. Not sure what the council had seen, like we were just banging it out long, and when you're banging out like long, sometimes it's 50-50. There didn't seem to be that much of a plan there, but maybe Dublin were obviously putting a lot of pressure basically on them. They looked a little bit open at times in the first half down the middle basically of the pitch. I suppose when they were going player on player, it did leave that little bit of vulnerability that Dublin probably just didn't capitalise on in the first half of the game. But to be fair, that they really tightened that up in the second half. So look, their turnovers were probably high enough. That they'll have to work on as well, and bringing the ball into tackle, particularly in the first half. I thought when they didn't really need to, when they're trying to force it a little bit. But again, that improved during the game. So look, they have lots of things to work on. I'm sure they'll be chasing a really good performance the next day. And if they get their performance right, they're in a right chance in that game, a right chance.
Do you believe they can win the Brendan Martin Cup this year?
Yeah, I do because they have quality players. Got no more than the men's team. They certainly would have been outsiders at the start of the year, but I think if where they've gone to over the last 6 months as regards winning the Connacht title, you know, building really good team morale. It looks like in the group they look all together, and there doesn't seem to be any issues around that. They're keeping everybody. They're getting injured players back, and they seem to have a full hand the last day basically as well. So that's really important. And again, the quality players that we just spoke about. If Galway, if Galway keep doing that, and then the other players and the fringe players, um, step up their performance, they've got a right chance. Like there's more in Emma Rainey, there's more in Leanne Cohen, maybe, good stuff. There's, Murray Glynn looks a really good player, really good young player as well. So I'm sure there's probably more in her as well. So, that's, they've got to me, they'll have a great chance. They'll know that. They'll know that, although Kerry, you would think, look really strong and probably favourites for it, especially with the young Mackin girl getting injured in Armagh. You would think that would harm them a little bit. So they'll have to get over Cork first, before they're thinking about that. But they won't fear Cork. They'll know Cork were relegated as themselves down in Division Two, so it hasn't been plain sailing for them either. Cork will be thinking of the bigger picture, but I think the girls will. They'll feel that getting to Croke Park is possible for them again, and that would be a brilliant achievement if they to get that far. If they get that far, then they'll have a right good look at winning it. But if they get their performance right against Cork, they've got a great chance.
Yeah, that is Cork next up for the Galway ladies footballers in the All Ireland semi-final. That's all we do have time for on today's show. Thanks a million to Timmy for coming on.